I have a very strange and malicious stepmother. On the first day we met, she said, although you are not my biological child, you will definitely be the child I raise with love. My grandmother complained that I ate too much and took away the meat dishes, saying, a girl doesn't need to eat so well. My stepmother knocked the chicken leg off my grandmother's chopsticks and said, you old woman are the one who doesn't need to eat so well. Grandma looked down on me for being a girl. When are you going to give me a grandson? A good grandson is the best. He'll definitely be filial to his grandma when he grows up. My stepmother smiled with hidden malice. By the time your good grandson grows up, you'll already be 6 feet under. It's more practical to teach the child to burn more joss paper for you. Then she turned to me, little one, I'll teach you how to burn it in a moment. She talked to me about the struggles women face, telling me that having children isn't a woman's only option. Then she secretly got sterilized and changed my name to Unique. She said I was her only child and told me to firmly grasp my future in my own hands. A child without a mother is like a blade of grass. With a stepmother, I became a mama's boy. Why is the stepmother, who should have been cruel, so kind to me? On my 4th birthday, my mother bought me a small cake while she was at the market, colorful artificial cream, palm-sized paper cups. Each serving costs 5 yuan. Mom asked the vendor for 4 candles and stuck them into the cake. The moment the candles lit up, I secretly made a wish. I hope Mom gets divorced soon. Children from discordant families mature early. I knew what divorce meant from a very young age, and I also felt that Mom would be happier if she left Dad. Eat, eat, eat. That's all you ever think about. My grandmother, who had just returned from playing mahjong outside, snatched the small cake from my hand. You two wasteful women, the moment I'm not paying attention, you're squandering money. What's the point of buying this thing? Grandma swallowed half the cake in one bite, cream smeared around her mouth, turning from sweet to greasy. I pouted and cried quietly, not daring to make a sound. My mother shielded me behind her. Mom, today is Hope's birthday. If you want to eat it, I'll buy you another one next time. Please leave the rest for Hope. I beg you. My mother humbly bent down. But my grandmother sneered, birthday, what's the point of celebrating a girl's birthday? Raise her for a couple of years and marry her off quickly. She's just wasting food at home. Besides, I don't care for any cake. I'm only eating it because I can't stand seeing you waste money. It's absolutely disgusting. Nowadays, people just come up with these things to make money off fools like you. If you ever buy this again, I'll break your legs. Is it really that bad? But as she complained, Grandma kept eating and finished the cake in just a few bites. I licked the paper cup that held the cake several times. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva several times. Mom wiped away her tears, picked me up, and carried me back to the room. Grandma seemed even angrier. Cry, cry, cry. All you know is crying. You've scared my grandson away with all your weeping. The hens in the yard are more useful than you. 4 years and still no sign of a baby in your belly. My life is so bitter. I can't even hold a chubby grandson in my arms, and on top of that, I have to take care of this mother and child. Grandma's same old complaints every single day. She wanted a grandson, so she named me Hope, hoping for a son's hope. But after giving birth to me, my mother developed uterine fibroids and had surgery. After that, I was never able to get pregnant again. Even Dad, who used to be so good to us, gradually stopped coming home. Dad, I feel like I haven't seen him in half a year. I raised my hand to wipe away my mother's tears. Mom, can I call Dad today? A glimmer of light appeared in Mother's eyes, and she nodded. I skillfully found Father's number and dialed it. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. Hello, what is it now? I replied softly, Dad, today is my birthday. Birthday? How dare you celebrate your birthday, you useless thing. Raising you not only wastes money but also makes me lose face. Mark, a sweet, delicate female voice suddenly came through the phone, and Dad immediately hung up. Mom's tears had already streamed down to her neck. I gently wiped away my mother's tears, then held onto her arm. Mom, you should get a divorce. My mother's eyes were filled with shock. Indeed, how could a 4-year-old child encourage their mother to get a divorce? But in this home, neither my mom nor I are happy. Since we're not happy, why can't we separate? Mom patted my head and said, your dad used to be really good to us. Mom was brought back by Dad when he went out to make his way in the world, and I was already on the way at that time. I heard Mom was still a high school student, the most educated daughter-in-law in our family. Dad was so proud back then. My wife is a top student from another province. and she got pregnant without costing me a single cent. When she gives birth to a big, healthy boy, he's sure to be exceptionally smart. I'll even send him to Tsinghua University in the future. Back then, Mom was petite and lovely, leaning against Dad with a gentle smile, which made the old bachelors in the village extremely envious. Later, they hastily held a wedding. Not only did Grandma and Grandpa not attend, but they also cut off all ties with Mom. Dad had promised to treat Mom well for the rest of his life. But soon after I was born, that goodness disappeared. I am a girl. Grandma didn't even stay to help with the postpartum confinement. Dad tried to comfort Mom by saying, "Our daughter is adorable. In a couple of years, we can have a son and have both a daughter and a son." Mom finally smiled, but Grandma shouted from the living room, "Then wait until you have a son to talk about it, and don't register your marriage yet. Wait until the son arrives, then you can make it official later." Yes, my parents never registered their marriage when she was pregnant with me. Mom was only 19 years old. She wasn't old enough. Moreover, according to Grandma's wishes, they could only get married after giving birth to a son, and Dad was a mama's boy who always listened to whatever Grandma said. Mom had no one from her own family to back her up, and with her gentle nature, she had no choice but to endure Grandma's control. However, 4 years passed, and Mom still hadn't given birth to a son. At Grandma's instigation, Dad lost his patience with us. Dad is a contractor with his own crew and has made a lot of money over the past 2 years, but all the money is tightly held by Grandma. Not a single penny has been spent on Mom or me. To support me, Mom always goes up the mountain to gather herbs. Once, while picking forsythia, I fell down the mountain and got injured all over. I tightly held my mother's hand. "Mom, Dad is not treating us well at all right now. I can't choose my father, but you can choose your husband." Mom tapped my forehead. "Where did you learn that? You're full of nonsense." I repeated again, "Mom, get a divorce. Hope, I don't want you to grow up in a single-parent family, and I don't want you to be isolated by other kids." Mom looked at me, her eyes filled with guilt. "But Mom, it's almost like I don't have a dad now. If other kids isolate me because my parents are divorced, then I won't be friends with them either. I can choose my friends, Mom, and you can too." Mom cried and then laughed. "All right, little miss, I'll think about it." That evening, Mom called Grandma. It was the first time in 4 years that Mom had called Grandma. She was worried that Grandma wouldn't answer, so nervous that her palms were sweating. After the phone rang twice, an elderly man's voice came through, "Sweetie." Mom suppressed her sobs. "Dad, it's me." Then there was a long silence. I gently patted Mom's back over and over. She took a deep breath. "Dad, I want to go home." Grandpa's voice trembled. All right, you can come back. But don't bring that burden with you." Grandma's voice was soft, but every word fell clearly into my ears. Mom pointed to the rocking horse by the door. I obediently walked over and pretended to be having a great time. Then I quietly took out my piggy bank, which contained the money I had saved for a year. Sometimes Mom would give me a few dollars, and I couldn't bear to spend them, so I saved them all. I counted them, 86 yuan and 50 cents. I neatly folded them and placed them in Mom's only bag. Mom left overnight. It took 3 days for Grandma to admit that Mom had run away. She jabbed her finger hard into my head. "You worthless girl. Even your own mother thinks you're a burden and doesn't want you. What bad luck." Someone passed by the door, and Grandma stopped them. "My daughter-in-law is outrageous. She ran off with someone and even abandoned her own daughter. I must have had the worst luck for 800 lifetimes to end up with a daughter-in-law like this. I don't want to live anymore." Those aunties pretended to comfort her, but behind her back, they were gossiping about Grandma and my dad. That old man finally drove his daughter-in-law away. Poor Hope. No one wants her now. Hope's father has several mistresses outside. Right, men all turn bad when they have money. My son said he saw Hope's father in the provincial capital last time, with a young girl by his side, heavily made up. TSK. I also heard that one of the mistresses is particularly shameless, even daring to call Hope's mother. It's only because Hope's mother has a soft temper. If it were me, I would definitely make James's family restless. TSK. Make sure to keep a close eye on your own daughters in the future. Don't let them marry far away like Hope's mom did. They chatted back and forth, occasionally handing me a few candies and asking me, "Have you ever seen the mistress your dad is keeping?" Stepmothers and stepdaughters are natural enemies. Poor Hope. "So, will you call her Mom, then? Do you know who your mother ran off with?" the melon seed shells they spat landed at my feet, stinging as if they had hit my face. I threw the candy at their faces and went back to my room. Soon after, Dad called to say he was coming home. Grandma said my mom ran away, and Dad's voice suddenly rose sharply on the phone. I already knew. She sent me a text telling me to take good care of Hope, and I knew she had run away. But if she's gone, she's gone. It's not like we spent any money or got a marriage certificate anyway. I'm still considered a first-time groom. Perfect timing. This time I'll bring a woman back with me, a real beauty. Grandma grinned from ear to ear. Then I'll just give Hope to that cripple Bob at the village entrance. That way, it won't take up my grandson's spot. All right, whatever you say. But she knows I have a daughter, so it's not a big deal. I'm in town now. Hurry up and tidy the house. Grandma hung up the phone and ordered me to mop the floor and wipe the tables. I picked up a mop that was twice my height and meticulously cleaned the floor. The toilet was also scrubbed 4 or 5 times under Grandma's supervision. She even made me reach into the drainpipe to scrape off the grime that daily cleaning couldn't reach. I bit my lip, not daring to cry, because there was no longer a mother to protect me. Auntie, I'm here to pick up Hope and take her home. It was Bob the cripple from the village entrance. Grandma said she was going to give me to him. I took the initiative to go over and hold crippled Bob's hand, calling out, "Uncle," in an ingratiating tone. He was all alone in the world, so surely he would treat me well. At that time, I had no idea that he was watching me like prey, his eyes gleaming. Grandma held up 5 fingers, 50,000 yuan, not a penny less. Limping Bob shook off my hand. "Are you trying to rob me?" Grandma sneered. "You're like a frog at the bottom of a well who's never seen the sky, nowadays, who doesn't spend 100 or 200,000 to get a wife. I'm only asking for 50,000, which is already a bargain. You've raised her since she was young. Won't she be a bargain for you when she grows up?" Bob the cripple's face darkened. "At most 10,000. Suddenly, a woman with big wavy hair and wearing sky-high heels walked in on her own. "Oh my, what is this that costs $10,000? Without waiting for a reply, she pinched my cheek. "Little girl, so cute." I rolled my eyes. "Strange attire. She doesn't seem like a good person." Grandma kicked me hard and scolded. "No manners." Dad followed closely behind, carrying a large piece of pork leg and some fruits. Grandma immediately realized, "You must be Lisa, right? Please have a seat. The food will be ready soon." Lisa pointed at me. "Where is the child going?" Grandma immediately patted her chest. "Lisa, this child already belongs to Bob the cripple. Don't worry. From now on, you're the head of the household, and we will never treat you unfairly." Lisa laughed so hard she was shaking. "Auntie, what are you talking about? Even your own granddaughter is treated so poorly. How could I, an outsider, possibly believe that?" Seeing the awkward situation, Bob the cripple slipped away. Dad grew anxious. "Mom, what are you doing? You should be treating Lisa properly." This was the first time Dad had ever bossed Grandma around. Grandma also wanted to change the subject, so she took out a banana and shoved it into Lisa's hand. Lisa took the banana and handed it to me. "Little one, how about I become your mom from now on?" I threw the banana back at her. "I already have a mom. You're a shameless homewrecker. You don't deserve to be my mom." All the vulgar words I had heard from the aunties, I skillfully used on this woman. Dad slapped me hard across the face. "You little brat. If I don't beat you for 3 days, you'll be tearing the roof tiles off." He rolled up his sleeves and immediately picked up a mop handle as thick as my arm. Lisa took a step forward, cleared her throat. "Mark, in this house, who's in charge?" Dad flatteringly ran to Lisa's side. "My dear wife, of course it's you. Very good." She crooked her finger at me. "From now on, Hope is my daughter. Anyone who dares to bully her is going against me." My heart felt as if struck by a powerful electric current. Is this woman crazy? Grandma couldn't stand someone standing up for me, so she stepped forward and linked arms with Lisa. "Child, don't be foolish. This girl is a jinx. You'll soon have your own son. Why keep this burden?" Lisa raised her hand to interrupt Grandma. "Mark, who exactly is in charge of this household?" Dad pulled Grandma aside and started whispering to her. She slowly walked up to me and gently stroked my head. "Although you are not a child born from my womb, I can promise you that you are definitely a child raised with my love. Hope, would you let me be your mom?" Before I could respond, those aunties came again. They never miss a chance to stir up drama. "Oh dear, Hope, you better think carefully. Agreeing to this would be a betrayal of your mother. What if she comes back one day and sees you calling someone else mom? How heartbreaking that would be. Once you have a stepmother, you'll have a stepfather too. We're only saying this for your own good. Oh dear, it's their family matter. We really shouldn't interfere. Hope is so young. Even if you tell her, she won't understand. Poor thing. They stand on the moral high ground, arrogantly thinking they can dictate everything. I didn't want to understand at first, but after hearing it so many times, I gradually came to understand. Grandma, annoyed by their chattering, called them into the kitchen to help with the cooking. I look at Lisa. Her hand is so warm, her touch so gentle, her eyes as tender as my mother's. But I don't want to betray my mother, yet I also want to have a mother. I grabbed the tattered clothes on my body with both hands and fell into a struggle. Are you mute? My father kicked me hard. You learned nothing from your mother. Both of you are just silent gourds. Mark, if you lay a hand on anyone in this house again, we're getting a divorce. With one shout from Lisa, Dad turned into a coward. She took my hand and led me into the room. Hope, it's all my fault for being too impatient. I never meant to replace your mom. I looked at her quietly. My dad is not a good person. It's not too late for you to leave now. She gently pinched my cheek again. I know, but Hope is a good kid. From now on, let me be your support. I suddenly remembered the night before my mother left. She knelt by the bed and spoke to me. Hope, wait for me, when I'm strong enough to be your support. I'll come back to take you away. So, is the support mom found, Aunt Lisa? I couldn't hide my excitement. Auntie, are you the support mom found? She paused for a moment, then beamed brightly. Yes, I knew Mom wouldn't lie to me. During the meal, I deliberately moved my stool to sit next to Aunt Lisa. She kept piling chicken drumsticks and braised pork into my bowl. I usually don't dare to reach for these meat dishes. Grandma was heartbroken. Lisa, you eat. That girl Hope doesn't need to eat this well. Aunt Lisa knocked the chicken leg off Grandma's chopsticks. You old woman don't need to eat this well either. Grandma looked at Dad, but he just kept his head down and ate. Grandma continued to say, when are you going to give me a grandson? A well-behaved grandson is the best. He'll definitely be filial to his grandma when he grows up. Aunt Lisa was smiling, but her brows were already furrowed. By the time your well-behaved grandson grows up, you'll already be 6 feet under. It's more practical to teach the child to burn more joss paper for you. Then she turned to me and said, Hope, I'll teach you how to burn it later. I was trying so hard not to laugh that I almost spat out my food. This family is about to undergo a major change. I took a bite of a big chicken leg and then stuffed a piece of braised pork into my mouth. So delicious. After the meal, Aunt Lisa didn't go to wash the dishes, nor did she let me do it. Grandma was crying in the kitchen to Dad. Your wife just arrived and already she's trying to put me in my place. How am I supposed to stand my ground in this family from now on? Dad let out a sigh. Mom, I'm begging you, please calm down. Lisa is the one I paid $100,000 in bride price to marry. At the time, the line of men wanting to marry her stretched all the way to the county town. I was lucky to marry a pure, untouched girl. She's precious. If you make her run away again, I'll stay single for the rest of my life. Grandma wanted to say something, but she pursed her lips and swallowed her words. Many years later, I found out that Aunt Lisa had married my father out of necessity. Aunt Lisa's family had 4 children, and she was the second oldest. The eldest sister got married 2 years ago and received a betrothal gift of 50,000 yuan. Not long ago, her third brother came of age and brought his girlfriend home. The girl's family has a mentally disabled brother in his 30s. The girl's parents said, if Lisa can marry into our family, it would be a double blessing. This is what is known as a marriage exchange. Both families can arrange 2 marriages without spending any extra money. Lisa did not agree. She had just turned 20. How could she throw her whole life away like this? She wants to escape. But as soon as she got on the bus, the driver closed the door and called her father. He tied her up with a rope, wrapping it around her again and again. They carried her back home like a pig. She gradually stopped struggling in despair. After that, she was locked in the room and monitored every moment. Later, she once drank pesticide but was fortunately saved. However, her temperament changed drastically after she woke up. The family is busy building a new house for her third brother. My father, as the contractor, took on the entire project. It was at this time that my father met the young and beautiful Aunt Lisa. Aunt Lisa's family made an exorbitant demand, asking for 100,000. My dad also agreed. Someone brought up my mom. My dad then showed a pained expression. She thought I was useless and ran off with someone else. Everyone said my mom didn't know how good she had it, and that Aunt Lisa and my dad were a match made in heaven. Among all the bad choices, she chose my dad, and from that moment on, I had a stepmother. I also gained a solid support who always had my back. I thought a happy life was about to begin. I never expected that my grandmother, who saw me as a thorn in her side, would push me into hell once again. Aunt Lisa set up a room for me, buying beautiful clothes, snow cream, and cute hair accessories. I had seen these on other children before. They once asked me, "Your dad is so rich, why are you always dressed in rags?" I pursed my lips and silently replied in my heart, "Because Dad says I'm a money loser, and spending money on me brings misfortune. Now it's better, with Aunt Lisa around, Dad and Grandma both need to shut up." But recently, I've noticed that my clothes and hair accessories keep disappearing mysteriously. Even Aunt Lisa found it strange. "Hope, is there a thief in the house?" Until one night, thick smoke suddenly billowed out of Grandma's room. Dad thought it was a fire and kicked the door open violently. Grandma was sitting cross-legged on the floor, with burning clothes beside her, the visible floral print hem of the skirt. Grandma was burning my clothes. There was an incense burner on the ground, with incense burning inside. Grandma was muttering under her breath. Aunt Lisa was holding a basin of water and poured it directly over Grandma's head, with a sizzling sound. The flames were completely extinguished. Grandma cursed loudly. "Mark, you unfilial son, how dare you kick your mother's door? I'm performing a ritual. Didn't I tell you not to come to my room at night?" Aunt Lisa glared at Dad. Then she picked up the remaining fabric from the floor. "You burned Hope's clothes. Hope is alive and well. Why would you burn her clothes? We have a custom where the clothes of the deceased are burned. Burning the clothes of a living person is like cursing them to death." I knew Grandma didn't like me, but I never expected she would want me dead. Grandma stood up and pushed me away abruptly. I consulted a master who said Mark is destined to have only one son. Now Hope has taken the nest that isn't his. What's wrong with me burning some clothes? Aunt Lisa was instantly amused and laughed. "Do you believe the master or me? If you believe the master, I can make sure your son never has a son." Grandma glanced at Aunt Lisa's belly and smiled obsequiously. "Of course. I believe you, Lisa. When can I hold my grandson?" Aunt Lisa held me in her arms. "I love children the most, but if you treat Hope like this now, there's no guarantee you won't do the same to my child in the future, right, Mom?" Grandma was clearly flustered. "How could that be? I love my chubby grandson the most." Aunt Lisa responded. "Oh, what if it's a girl?" Grandma was about to say something more, but she was silenced by Dad's glare. Honey, don't overthink it. Whether it's a boy or a girl, it's our little treasure." My heart was filled with an indescribable bitterness. At that time, I didn't understand why. In my father's words, Aunt Lisa's child was a little treasure, while I was a burden. That night, Aunt Lisa held me as I fell asleep. She sang to me, her gentle voice like a breeze in April. Yet, no matter what, I couldn't fall asleep. She tapped my nose. "Little night owl, why aren't you sleeping well?" I looked into her eyes, which were filled with stars. "Auntie, will you still hold me like this after you have a baby?" As if sensing my unease, she hugged me tightly. "No, I will always love Hope, and you are my only child." That night, I didn't understand the weight of those words. I only felt an inexplicable sense of peace and fell into a deep sleep in her arms. However, 3 months later, Aunt Lisa became pregnant. Grandma is like a loudspeaker. Every day, she stands at the front door. "Hey, how did you know my daughter-in-law is pregnant with a big, healthy boy?" Let me tell you, the James family finally has an heir, but there isn't a trace of a smile on Aunt Lisa's face. Instead, she looks even more haggard. Severe morning sickness kept her hunched over the toilet most of the time. At first, Grandma was worried, but later she openly complained to Dad, "Everyone goes through this. Why is your wife so delicate?" When Hope's mom was pregnant, she could still go up the mountain to dig for wild yams. "Your wife is made of gold, can't be bumped or touched." Dad's face grew darker and darker. "Mom, please say less. You already drove Hope's mother away with your behavior, and if you keep this up, this family will fall apart." It was clear that Dad really liked Aunt Lisa. He never once defended Mom or Grandma. He made Grandma shut up for Aunt Lisa from the very beginning. It turns out Dad could love someone, just not Mom and me. Aunt Lisa's morning sickness lasted for a whole month. It was hard for me to see her unable to eat every day. I suddenly remembered the wild berries. that I picked with my mom on the mountain before, a type of red berry that looks very similar to red raspberries. They are sweet and sour, very appetizing. I went up the mountain carrying a small bamboo basket. The mountain path in my memory has long been overgrown with weeds. After walking for an unknown amount of time, a flash of red suddenly appeared before my eyes. Tiny red berries, the size of a pinky fingernail, hung glistening on the low-lying bushes. I carefully picked a berry, and without noticing, a sharp thorn on the vine pricked my finger, drawing crimson blood. I put my finger in my mouth and gently licked it. Continue picking the fruit. After picking about half a basket, the sky had already darkened. Turning around, the tangled vines and weeds shimmered in the fading light. I couldn't see the way I came. I walked for a long time and returned to the bush of berries. Having not eaten dinner, I was already exhausted. The dense thorns in my hand were glaring, and the pain grew increasingly clear. I dare not cry. When I was little, my grandmother told me there were wild wolves in the mountains, and if I kept crying, she would throw me into the mountains to be eaten by the wolves. Wolves love to eat crying children the most. I cannot cry. I just sat there motionless. The wind rustled through the forest. In the distance, a large wolf dog barked. Woof, woof, woof. I covered my ears. Don't eat me, don't eat me, don't eat me. Hope, hope. The flashlight beam shone from not far away. Aunt Lisa's voice, choked with tears, grew closer. Auntie, I responded timidly, because I saw my father standing behind me, his face full of anger. You damn dog, running around everywhere. He casually picked up a thorny branch from the ground and was about to whip me with it. Mark, if you dare lay a finger on Hope, I'll fight you to the death today. Aunt Lisa shielded me, and the thorny branch was already tangled in her hair. Dad immediately shut down. Back home, Grandma sat imperiously. That little girl is such a worry. She might as well have been eaten by wolves in the mountains. Everyone quiet down. From today onwards, if anyone dares to scold Hope, then don't expect me to want the baby in my belly. Aunt Lisa frowned deeply, seemingly very angry. I didn't dare to say anything more and silently placed the washed red fruits in front of her. She suddenly hugged me tightly, her heavy sobs no longer containable. Hope, you must always tell Auntie before going out from now on. If something happened to you, how could I go on living? I had no idea I was so important to her. I picked up a fruit and offered it to Auntie. After a moment of hesitation, I stammered, Mom, you, try it. I'm sorry, Mom, I betrayed you. But Aunt Lisa is so good to me, and I want a mom too. Aunt Lisa hugged me tightly again, and in her embrace, my guilt towards Mom gradually dissipated. From that day on, Grandma's attitude towards me did a complete 180. She cooks all kinds of meat for me. Braised pork, stewed ribs. Aunt Lisa, unable to stand the smell of meat during her pregnancy, didn't eat a single bite. Strangely, Grandma didn't eat either. Dad wanted to eat, but Grandma knocked his chopsticks away. This is specially made for Hope. She needs to grow, and you, a grown man, are snatching food from a child. Aren't you ashamed? Is this really my grandma? I felt a little overwhelmed by the favor and only took a small piece. Grandma, however, kept piling food into my bowl. Aunt Lisa shot her a look. Let the child eat whatever they want. In my house, there's no forcing anyone to eat, understand? The three quails, heads bowed, nodded. Perhaps it was my first time eating meat, but I had a bit of an upset stomach. Aunt Lisa gave me medicine and rubbed my stomach until I finally fell asleep in the middle of the night. The next day, Grandma specially made meat for me again. This time, it was served in a small bowl and placed right next to me. What Dad and Grandma ate was on a plate, placed in the center of the dining table. I really had no appetite after last night's diarrhea, so I only took a bite or two. In less than 5 minutes, I started vomiting and having diarrhea. Aunt Lisa wanted to take me to the hospital, but Grandma said, I think Hope is like a wild boar that can't handle fine grains. She'll be fine after vomiting. No need to go to the hospital. Aunt Lisa glared at her. In that case, I'll eat the meat that Hope left over and let the child in my belly check whether the meal cooked by her own grandmother is safe. Seeing that she couldn't gloss it over, Grandma stopped interfering. The doctor took one look and said I had food poisoning. Grandma was quick to distance herself. We all ate from the same table, so why is she the only one who got poisoned? I think she just can't handle good fortune. Aunt Lisa held up a plastic bag. Doctor, only Hope ate this meat. Please check it. Before the doctor could take over, Grandma spilled everything. She added insecticide to the meat I ate. Every time we brought this up with Aunt Lisa afterward, we were filled with dread again and again. Fortunately, the old woman didn't give me paraquat. After the truth came out, Aunt Lisa was so angry that she slapped Grandma 3 times in a row. "You old hag, you never do anything that resembles human behavior. If you dare to poison someone today, you'll dare to kill tomorrow. I'm going to report you to the police station and make sure you, this old hag, rot in jail." Grandma has been domineering her whole life. How could she stand being pointed at and scolded like this? As more and more people gathered outside the hospital room, Grandma simply rolled onto the floor and started crying. "Oh, my life is so miserable. I worked so hard to raise my son, and now my daughter-in-law dares to slap me in public. Who knows how she'll mistreat me when we get home? I might as well just die right now." In the heat of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law argument, the man always seems to disappear into the background. It wasn't until Grandma mentioned it that Dad symbolically pushed Aunt Lisa aside and said, "Let's talk about this at home. Don't embarrass me here, Mark. Make it clear today. Do you want me and Hope, or do you want your mother, who tried to poison someone? If you choose your mother, we'll go get our divorce certificate today." Before Dad could say anything, Grandma stood up and started hitting Aunt Lisa. "You vixen, you've only been married into our James family for 2 days and you're already trying to turn my son against his own mother. I'll fight you to the death." In the struggle, Aunt Lisa was pushed by Grandma and tumbled down the stairs. Red blood flowed down the steps, one by one. That day, I was hospitalized after being poisoned by my grandmother. Aunt Lisa was pushed by my grandmother and had a miscarriage. My blind-hearted father suddenly came to his senses. He pointed at my grandmother and said, "Stay in the village. Once our house in the city is renovated, we'll move there. Mom, don't blame me for being unfilial. If you keep causing trouble, this family is bound to fall apart." Grandma made a big mistake and didn't dare say another word. When I was 5 years old, we moved to the county town. Our household registration was also transferred here. I can finally register my household registration with dignity. Aunt Lisa opened the household register and showed it to me. On this small household register, there's a father, a mother, and a baby. The mother is Aunt Lisa, and I am that baby. I smiled sweetly and said, "There will be more little babies in the future." Aunt Lisa was taken aback for a moment, then forced a smile. One sunny afternoon, Aunt Lisa took me to the hospital. "Is there a baby on the way?" I was both excited and nervous. In the hospital room, the doctor looked worried. "Are you really sure about getting sterilized?" But Aunt Lisa smiled brightly. "I'm certain and sure, and I'll never regret it." The doctor tried to persuade her further. "You're still young now, and you'll definitely want children in the future. You only have one daughter. Don't you want a son? Women are born to have children. One is the same as having 2. Does your husband agree?" Aunt Lisa's originally curved mouth gradually straightened. "We women live, not just to have children." Then she took my hand and said, "Let's go, we're changing hospitals." At that time, I didn't understand what sterilization meant. I only remember Aunt Lisa patting my head and saying this was our secret, a secret we couldn't tell anyone. Dad is busy contracting projects at the construction site and is rarely home all year round. Aunt Lisa holds the financial power in the family and has spoiled me like a little princess. On my 5th birthday, she took me to the police station again. "From today on, your name will be unique, the one and only unique in the world." I nodded vigorously. From then on, I was no longer the Hope who longed for a younger brother. Instead, I became the one and only unique in the world. After that, I was sent to preschool. At that time, it wasn't called kindergarten. 1 year of preschool is enough, and by the age of 6, they can start 1st grade. Dad's business was growing bigger and bigger in the past 2 years. He has taken on construction projects in Xinjiang, too busy to come back for the new year. Aunt Lisa wasn't idle at home either. After the new year, she opened a clothing store. She personally traveled far from home to the south to source goods. After Grandma found out, she called and started yelling, "You wasteful woman only know how to mess around. My son is so rich, you should hurry up and give him a son to secure his heart." Aunt Lisa sneered, "Mom, you seem to be in good spirits. Why don't you have one yourself? That would make it even more special." Grandma was so angry that she started cursing wildly. Aunt Lisa hung up the phone directly. She looked tired, leaning back on the sofa. I gently massaged her temples. "Mom, why don't you take a break? Let Dad earn the money. I don't want to see you so exhausted." She pulled me onto her lap. "Unique, Dad is Dad, and I am me. The initiative in life must be held in my own hands." As if realizing something, she patted my head and said, "Oh, you're still young. I shouldn't be telling you all this." Actually, I understood. After that, Grandma stopped meddling in our lives. Dad only comes home for a few days during the new year. Aunt Lisa and Dad's relationship is quite similar to how it was with Mom before. The difference is, Mom was always waiting for Dad to come back. But Aunt Lisa never waits. She went to Zhejiang to select the most fashionable clothes and to Yiwu to pick out suitable accessories. Her clothing store grew larger and larger, and she even opened 2 branch stores. Although work was busy, her care for me never diminished. The difficulty of elementary school math problems kept increasing, and there were many I couldn't solve. But Aunt Lisa always helps me solve them easily and can come up with a few similar problems to help me reinforce my understanding. I couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, "Mom, your teacher must have really liked you." She paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "Mom's math was taught by your grandmother, with such good genes. No wonder Unique's grades are so excellent. We mother and daughter are like 2 peas in a pod." Aunt Lisa seems to have forgotten that I'm not her biological child, but if given another chance, I would want to be her child. Winter passed and spring arrived. As the seasons continued to cycle, I had already entered middle school. My grades have consistently ranked first in the class. My personality has also become more and more like Aunt Lisa's, sharp-tongued and feisty. My memories of my father are becoming increasingly blurry, to the point where I can't even recall his face clearly. One summer afternoon, Aunt Lisa suddenly came to pick me up and take me home. She was wearing a bright red dress, with long, wavy hair flowing in the wind. Standing in the distance, she looked as beautiful as a painting. With a spin and a leap, I bounced right in front of her. "Mom, Mom, my dear Mom, how could I trouble you to come pick me up?" She tapped my forehead. "Baby, baby, my dear baby. Your dad, who was as good as dead, has come back to life." I picked at my ear. "What? That old man is back." When I got home, the greasy aura of a middle-aged man hit me in the face. I stammered several times and barely managed to call out, "Dad." Suddenly, the bathroom door opened. A woman with a protruding belly walked out. Aunt Lisa and I exchanged a glance. Got it in a second. The old man started playing the emotional card. "Hope, Dad is sorry for you." I cut him off directly. "My name isn't Hope, it's Unique." His face visibly darkened a shade as he took out a lighter, ready to light a cigarette. I continued to confront him. "Secondhand smoke can easily cause fetal deformities in pregnant women." He coughed and put away the lighter. "Unique, your Aunt Lisa and I are planning to get a divorce. Who do you want to live with?" I sneered. "Of course I'm with my mom." The woman beside me couldn't stop laughing. I continued, "But you cheated first. Child support, the house, the savings. Not a single penny less. If you shortchange us even a little, I'll make sure you're ruined and despised by everyone." During the negotiation, Aunt Lisa and I threw a fit and finally secured the assets we deserved. This negotiation is truly disgraceful. At night, we sat in the yard cracking sunflower seeds. Aunt Lisa was clearly a bit sad. I drafted an outline before speaking. "Mom, I always thought that old man wasn't good enough for you. Don't be sad. When the time comes, you can pick any young guy in the city you want. I'd be happy with whoever you choose as my stepdad." Aunt Lisa burst out laughing. "A life with money, a career, a daughter, and no man. Finally, it's my turn." That night, she told me many things I had never heard before. "Unique, do you think I'm a shrew?" I nodded, then shook my head. "Mom, they say you're fierce and hard to deal with, but I think only you can protect me and save me from Grandma." Aunt Lisa looked at me, signaling for me to continue. "I have read many literary works. The villains in the author's writings are often women. Even when you are by my side, you have to play the role of the so-called villain, building a wall around me. But what are the men, like Dad, doing? He is passively receiving benefits. He wanted a son, so he used Grandma's hand to drive away the mother who gave birth to me. He wanted to leave Grandma, so he used you, Mom, to escape to the city. He wanted a divorce and remarriage, so he used the excuse of caring for me and his new wife's anger to achieve his goal. While women charge forward in the storm, he sits back comfortably, enjoying the perfect outcome with a clear conscience." Aunt Lisa patted my head, her eyes full of approval. "Unique, you're amazing. Today, Mom wants to talk to you about the battlefield of women. In traditional societal views, a woman's battlefield is the home. Men can travel far and wide with their hearts filled with concerns for family and country, women often remain within the inner chambers, supporting their husbands and raising children. We are suppressed, belittled, and disciplined, but when I feel pain, I know that the first lesson of my life has arrived, that is to step out of these painful relationships, to leave the family, and build a new, small self that belongs to me. So I sold myself to your father, even though I knew he wasn't a good man, but for me at that time, it was the best choice. Your father was very wealthy in the village, but I knew he wouldn't love me unconditionally. His only goal was for me to bear him a son. I couldn't do it, and I was destined to be abandoned, so I had to strive to become my own best choice. Aunt Lisa really did it. I looked at her firmly. Mom, I will also become my own best fortune. The bright moonlight shines on the ground, and the light of ideals illuminates the heart, with the transition to high school approaching. I am striving to get into the best city high school. Aunt Lisa is still busy with her clothing store. With the rise of live streaming in online shops, she has also started doing it. She often doesn't come back until 2 a.m., and her online store consistently ranks in the top 3 on a certain platform's clothing store leaderboard. The day before the exam, my grandmother, whom I hadn't heard from in a long time, called. Aunt Lisa and I exchanged a glance and hung up immediately. That old hag definitely had ill intentions. I will never forget how she poisoned me and caused Aunt Lisa to have a miscarriage back then. If I accept it, it would be a betrayal of all the hardships I endured growing up and of Aunt Lisa, who truly loves me. But to my surprise, half an hour later, the neighbor stood at my door with her phone on speaker. My grandmother's unpleasant voice came through. Oh, Hope has the high school entrance exam tomorrow, right? I did a fortune telling for you. And it says the James family will only have one top scholar, and that's the precious grandson in your new mom's belly. Don't worry if you don't pass the exam, come back, and I'll arrange a good marriage for you. The neighbor is John, the distant cousin of the son of Grandma's sister, a relative so distant they're barely connected. After Aunt Lisa got divorced, he kept coming to her house to bother her. Lisa, don't try to act tough anymore. Aunt Lisa was full of confusion. He wore a greasy smile. Because your John is here, Aunt Lisa said, why don't you take a piss and see if you're even worthy? Then she felt so disgusted that she couldn't eat for several days. After that, John would occasionally find ways to annoy us. I grabbed a broom and hit him on the head with it. Aunt Lisa stomped hard on his toes with her high heels. Then, amidst his screams, she picked up her phone. Aren't you going to get lost? If not, we'll see each other at the police station. More and more people gathered around to watch the commotion, and some even told John to stop harassing us. John then ran away. That night, I slept exceptionally well, because I want to be the top scholar. In June, the cicadas chirped noisily, and my heart pounded loudly. After writing the last word on the exam paper, I let out a long sigh of relief. The long summer vacation began. I am busy studying high school knowledge at home. High school biology is truly fascinating, especially the part about genetic inheritance. I came across a question in a set of teaching materials. According to the inheritance pattern of humans, single eyelids and double eyelids, with A and A representing the relevant genetic factors, if a couple with single eyelids gives birth to a child with double eyelids, what is the child's genetic factor composition? This pattern is quite interesting. I've studied it for a long time. Double eyelids are determined by the dominant gene A, while single eyelids are determined by the recessive gene A. In males, AA results in double eyelids, while both AA and AA result in single eyelids. In females, both AA and AA result in double eyelids, while AA results in single eyelids. The answer to this question is AA, and it's a girl. Aunt Lisa called me several times, but I didn't hear her. She rushed into the room anxiously and pressed down on my pen. Unique. Your grandmother is calling us home to celebrate her golden grandson's full moon banquet. Do you want to go? I immediately became interested. Of course I'll go. Why wouldn't I? It was only after going that I found out my dad's new wife had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The full moon celebration was very grand. Grandma set up a full 30 tables. Everyone from near and far, whether familiar or not, was invited. My mother and I sat in the corner eating. Grandma and the aunts started causing trouble. Hope, go take a look at your little brother. He looks just like you. They pushed me into the room, which was exactly what I wanted. I carefully examined the two wrinkly little babies. Both have single eyelids. My mind was racing. The genetic pattern of single and double eyelids in humans quickly came to my mind. My father has double eyelids, so his genetic factor can only be AA. my biological mother has single eyelids. So her genetic factor can only be AA, therefore, my genetic factor can only be AA, and since I am a girl, I have double eyelids, and my dad's new wife has double eyelids, so her genetic factor is AA or AA, then the child she has with my dad will have the genetic factor AA or AA. The girl will definitely have double eyelids. The boy could have either single or double eyelids. It's uncertain for the baby boy, but for the baby girl, there's no way she could have single eyelids, unless, I feign surprise. Our Jane's family has always had double eyelids, and now we finally have 2 kids with single eyelids. The relatives watching the drama didn't hold back. Oh my, this is just too amazing, a genetic mutation. Everyone chimed in one after another. Father and grandmother's faces grew darker and darker. A month later, father took a paternity test. The child was not his. They divorced directly. The woman married the child's biological father, bringing the child along. Grandma was so angry that she had a stroke and was hospitalized. Aunt Lisa looked at me with admiration. Unique, that was a brilliant move. You've avenged the grudge. I'll have to look at you in a new light from now on. I'm not just good at studying, I'm really good at picking up gossip. A few friends I went to school with live in the same town as my dad's new wife. They said she was involved with a poor guy in town, but her family didn't approve. Then we broke up. Later, she quickly married my dad, who became the rebound guy. As for the origins of my younger siblings, I was just speculating and mentioned it casually. My dad is naturally suspicious. Now he's no longer working on the project. His family has fallen apart, and his mother is in the hospital. Watching them in chaos is truly refreshing. Soon, the high school entrance exam results came out. I scored over 100 points higher than the admission cutoff for the city's top high school. On the day the admission letter arrived, my dad called me. Hope, even when your grandma was unconscious, she kept calling your name. Come see her, talk to her, maybe she'll wake up. I replied coldly, what does that have to do with me? Did she ever think about this day when she poisoned me back then? My dad roared, Hope, you ungrateful wretch. I ignored his roar and sweetly called Aunt Lisa. Mom, my dear mom, I want to go to the police station. She rushed out of the room, blowing on her half-dried manicure as she asked, what, to turn yourself in? I jogged over to link arms with her. I want to change my name. She frowned slightly. What, don't you think Unique sounds nice? I shook my head. From today on, I am Unique Smith, Lisa Smith, unique in the world. Extra chapter. At the first class meeting in high school, everyone's self-introductions were full of variety. My name is Justin, and next, I'll sing a Justin Bieber song for everyone. When it was my turn, I proudly said, hello everyone, I'm Unique, the Smith from Lisa Smith. One of a kind in the world, my extroverted new deskmate was the first to ask, who is Lisa Smith? Which big celebrity is she? How come I've never heard of her? I laughed boldly. She's my biological mother. She shrugged and said, you're such a mama's girl. Being Mrs. Lisa's mama's girl is the happiest thing for Unique. When my deskmate found out that I wasn't Mrs. Lisa's biological daughter, she let out a sharp cry. Your stepmother is even better than my own mother. Why is she so good to you? Yes, why is that? Why does Ms. Lisa love me unconditionally without asking for anything in return? Until I read the serial novel she wrote. The novel, Unique, my adoptive mother died in the memories. The misfortunes of her childhood trapped her for life, because she was a girl. Her parents sold her to a lame man in a neighboring village to be a child bride. Before she had even seen the world, she was forced into marriage and motherhood. She finally escaped, but was abducted and sold again. All the misfortunes fell upon her, but she never gave up. At the age of 40, having escaped her suffering, she adopted me and gave me all her love, named me Unique. When I was doing well at work and everything was going smoothly, she chose to leave. She saved me, who had been abandoned by my family, but she couldn't save herself. If only I could go back in time to save her. The deity heard my prayer. I traveled back to the year she was 4 years old. Her mother abandoned her. Her father was never home, and her grandmother wished her harm. Then let me become her stepmother, love her unconditionally. After reading everything, my eyes were already blurred with tears. There's no need to delve into the truth. I only know that Ms. Lisa will love me without reservation, and I will love her with all I have. After graduating from college, I was busy building my career and climbing the ladder. Ms. Lisa sold her shop and started her retirement life. On my 24th birthday, I received a letter from a stranger. Dear Unique, I am your mother, Kathy. Kathy is my biological mother. The word, mother, before her name had been crossed out many times, but I recognized it at a glance. The letter was very long. She wrote about her helplessness, her lack of choice, and her apologies. Actually, I don't blame her. Now that I've grown up, I understand the confusion she once felt and can empathize with her situation, whether as a mother or a daughter. We are, first and foremost, ourselves. First, live for yourself. MS. Lisa suddenly poked her head out. Do you want to meet her? I shook my head. Not for now. I don't blame her, but I can't accept her all at once either. She's actually been secretly keeping an eye on you. MS. Lisa muttered quietly. I stepped forward, wrapped my arms around her neck, and affectionately nuzzled her. Mom, no matter what happens, Unique's mother, will always be only MS. Lisa, some scars, I won't take the initiative to uncover, but I won't choose to forget either. Forgetting is a betrayal to those who have given their heart and soul. Whenever I have free time, I go traveling with MS. Lisa, we go to see the ocean together. Feed the seagulls, wipe the seagull droppings off each other's heads, and then chase each other with the droppings to give seagull luck. We climb Mount Tai together, count the steps, and compete to see who can run faster and leap over more steps at once. Let's go to the ancient city together to wear flower hairpins and take Hanfu photos. Time is indeed merciless. Wrinkles have crept onto MS. Lisa's face, and onto mine as well. On a certain day when I was 40 years old, MS. Lisa, at the age of 63, passed away peacefully in her sleep. After the funeral, I finally dreamed of her. I held her tightly. Let me be your mother in the next life. On my 40th birthday, I adopted a baby girl from the orphanage. I named her Happy. This time, I will stay with her until we grow old. The novel, Unique, will have a perfect ending. 6 years later, Happy, now in elementary school, introduces himself on the podium. Hello everyone, I'm Happy, I'm Song the Unique. Happy the lifelong Happy, I'm a mama's girl. My mom Unique is the absolute best mom in the world. Welcome to my home. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I am the ungrateful daughter in a wife-chasing novel. Tomorrow, Mom is supposed to return to her original world. Before leaving, she said, Jessica, if you just hug me, Mom won't leave. Ignoring the tears in her eyes, I turned and embraced Dad's white moonlight. You're too ugly. I want Aunt Julia to be my mom. The floating barrage above my head is furiously hurling insults at me. Someone says, little ungrateful person truly lives up to being the cannon fodder female lead. Just wait to be tricked to death by Julia and left to rot in the wilderness. In the plot, I will meet a tragic end. But it doesn't matter. Mom, don't stay for me. In this lifetime, I only want you to be happy. Mom really has to go now. Jessica, won't you give Mom a hug? Tears welled up in Mom's eyes as she gazed at me tenderly, her look filled with anticipation. My consciousness shifted from confusion to clarity, and the moment I clearly saw Mom's face, my body trembled, and I abruptly broke free from her embrace. My heart was pounding violently and powerfully. Jessica, Mom looked at me in astonishment. This time, without any hesitation, I desperately ran toward Aunt Julia, who was only 5 steps away from me. No, I don't want you to be my mom. You're too ugly. I want Aunt Julia to be my mom. I threw myself into Aunt Julia's arms, wrapping my arms tightly around her waist. Turning around, I looked mockingly at my mother who had opened her arms to me, my expression identical to that of my indifferent father. Father stood by Aunt Julia's side, one arm around her waist, the other holding my small hand. To anyone looking, we appeared to be the real family. While my mother was the outsider. Jessica, don't you want mommy anymore? Mother looked heartbroken. Even you don't want me, as if afraid she wasn't sad enough. I added contemptuously, right? I don't need you, and neither does Dad. So just go, the farther the better. Never come back. Don't ever look back. Mother smiled absently. She had never imagined I could be so heartless toward her too. Those were the last words I left her with. After that day, she truly vanished, gone without a trace. So thoroughly that no one could find any sign of her, as if she had evaporated into thin air. Let her make a scene, she'll come back on her own when she's had enough. Anyway, the divorce papers are already signed. No matter how much she fusses, it won't change a thing. Dad reclined on the leather sofa, with Aunt Julia nestled in his arms. At that moment, having won the beauty's heart, He was more triumphant than ever. I rarely see him smile like this, with Mom. He hardly ever shows a pleasant expression, and Aunt Julia's slightly bulging belly now clearly shows she's pregnant. The two of them are sweet and happy, while I only have the nanny by my side. Even having dinner with Dad feels like a luxury. Miss, don't throw a tantrum, Mr. Howard has business to attend to, just going on a date with Aunt Julia. I heard that when Mom was pregnant with me, she was always alone, and Dad would only mock her. When did I say I was going to make a scene? I frowned slightly, displeased, and looked at the nanny. Who gave you permission to talk nonsense? The nanny froze for a moment and fell silent, as if puzzled by why I suddenly changed my temperament and stopped crying for Dad. I picked up my chopsticks, helped myself to a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs, and began eating unhurriedly. The barrage of comments floating before my eyes scrolled rapidly, which I treated as mere side dishes to accompany my meal. How can this ungrateful wretch still have the heart to eat? Ching Ching has already disappeared, just like her father, an ungrateful beast. It's fine, let her be smug for a few days. Once she's tortured to death by Jiang the homewrecker and left to rot in the wilderness, she'll learn her lesson. Reading this, I pressed my lips together and paused for a moment, but soon, my expression returned to normal as if nothing had happened. After finishing the meal, lying on the empty bed, I kept my eyes open, watching the barrage continue to refresh wildly. Once, this bed held both me and my mother. Every night before sleep, my mother would tell me stories, always with countless new and fascinating things to share. The birds in the mountains, the wheat in the fields, the fish and shrimp in the streams. Mother came from a distinguished family, living in luxury since childhood and never leaving the city, yet she described it so vividly. Mom, how do you know so much? Mother paused, then smiled faintly. Because, that's a story that belongs only to me. I didn't understand it back then. It wasn't until my life was nearing its end, when I saw floating bullet comments for the first time, that I finally realized, my mother was a time traveler. The world I lived in was a chasing the wife novel. She had to make my father regret betraying her and accumulate enough remorse points to receive her reward. She never belonged to this world. The stories she told me were all from her own experiences. The pillow still carried the scent of my mother. I buried my face in it, greedily inhaling the fragrance, as tears involuntarily soaked the fabric. Now you know how to cry. Whoever insisted on Aunt Julia being a mother deserves to die horribly. This is my ending. I will be left to rot in the wilderness, meeting my end in the most wretched state. Yet I laughed. A hearty laugh bursts from the chest. It's all right. I never cared about my own ending. As long as Mom can be happy this time, that's enough. No one knows I've been reborn. In my past life, my mother asked me if I wanted to hug her before she left. I cried my heart out, begging her to stay. Mom, please don't go. I don't want Daddy anymore. I just want to be with you. In the storyline, I'm supposed to be the ungrateful daughter, filled with regret alongside my father, heading toward a tragic ending, but I love my mom so much. Even though a voice in my head keeps warning me, you must accept Aunt Julia as your mother, hate her, abandon her, don't let her be your mother anymore. At that time, I didn't know where this voice came from. I only knew my head was throbbing with pain, but I stubbornly refused to listen to this voice. I refused to believe it. My mother is the best in the world, and I will never leave her. I want to be with my mom every day. Mom, don't go, frantically suppressing the stabbing pain in my head. With a sharp ringing in my ears, every step I took toward my mom sent a dull, piercing ache through my limbs. Finally, the moment I hugged my mom, all the noise vanished without a trace. It was only after a long time that I realized this was called the plot, a chasm I should never have crossed. According to the plot, Mom was supposed to disappear, while Dad and I would face retribution, as the wicked daughter. I calmly accepted my bleak exit, but I loved my mother too much. Breaking the course of the plot, Mother stayed for me. Her crystal-clear tears fell on my cheeks as she said, Jessica, I will never leave you. Yet the future freed from the constraints of the plot was not as beautiful as imagined. Mother endured daily torment at home. Father eventually forced her to divorce. But that didn't matter, Mother said. As long as I'm with Jessica, I'm happy. As if to punish us for escaping the script, Mother's family went bankrupt, leaving her truly without support. To fight for my custody, she left with nothing but the clothes on her back, so we had to set up a street stall to make ends meet. We left the Howard family and lived in a tiny rented apartment. If not for my father's interference, I think we could have lived peacefully, but under the pretext that the Howard bloodline must not be left to wander, he kept sending people to harass us, making it impossible for my mother and me to survive outside. You little bastard, I provide you with food and shelter. Yet you insist on following this worthless woman. You're just asking for trouble. Is love more important than money? You won't die without your mother, but without the Howard family fortune, you'll suffer a far worse fate. This is how my father educated me, by tearing me away from my mother's side. I bit down hard on the webbing of his thumb like a madwoman, filling my mouth with the metallic taste of blood, just like your mother. Asking for trouble, he slapped me across the face. The ringing in my ears was deafening as I collapsed to the ground, unable to get up. So you refused to come with me, is that it? Didn't you know? That wretched woman is already dead. A single sentence turned my heart to ashes. After being forcibly taken from my mother by my father, I hadn't seen her for a whole month. Dead. At that time, I didn't fully understand the meaning of death, only knowing that when faced with this word, it meant I could never see my gentle mother again. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I frantically pounded on my father. You murderer, I hate you, give mom back to me, I want my mom. He coldly pushed me away, looking down at me with disdain as I cried until my consciousness blurred. That bitch is the real murderer. If she hadn't caused the death of Julia's unborn child, I would never have acknowledged you and brought you back to the Howard family. So, while my father kept sending people to persecute me and my mother, she went to negotiate with him. Aunt Julia came out to stop them, but accidentally fell, losing the baby in her womb and becoming unable to conceive again. Dad promised Aunt Julia that for the rest of his life, there would be no other woman but her. I was his only child now. He had to take me away, and Mom was the biggest obstacle, and so a car accident quietly arrived, while going out to search for the kidnapped me. My mother's body fell from the overpass like a bird. The blood was washed away by the heavy rain. As if it had never existed, I was taken back to the Howard family to receive their elite education. No one would ever hold me and tell me stories again, and no one remembered how much I hated sour flavors. Even sweet and sour spare ribs were off the table. I became my father's proudest creation, just like him, cold-blooded, selfish, and twistedly obsessive. In the end, I finally brought my father down. No one knows better than me how hard this journey has been, filled with hatred. I personally killed my own enemy, Aunt Julia, Dad, even the nanny and butler who constantly mocked Mom at home. I spared none of them. You're just a madwoman. Finally, it's Dad's turn to scold me with this line. Thanks to you, my eyes show neither sorrow nor joy. Thanks to me. When that bitch wanted to leave, couldn't you just let her go? You had to make her stay, and now everything is thanks to you. It was you who killed her. Father roared and shouted. My heart ached dully. Was I really wrong? I didn't even get to see my mother one last time. The last impression she left me was my father condescendingly showing me the photo, making me give up all hope. In the pouring rain, my mother lay in a pool of blood, her face as pale as paper, as if she had fallen into a dream from which she would never wake. Do you regret it? It's all because you forced the host to stay that led to this outcome. Everyone is dead. I lay quietly on the bed where my mother once slept, staring blankly at the ceiling with my eyes open. After swallowing many sleeping pills, my stomach spasmed as if it were being burned. Just as my life was about to end, the system appeared. It's mocking my overestimation of my own abilities. If the host had left back then, and you hadn't broken through the plot, she would have lived safely in the original world. But you insisted on overestimating yourself, unaware that the plot would correct itself. The host was destined to disappear, but when the correction occurred, the plot chose to have her completely erased. It was me who caused my mother's death. I am the real murderer. When I opened my eyes again, I heard a familiar voice, night after night. It haunts me in my nightmares, reminding me that it was my wrong choice that led to my mother's death. And now, I've returned to this day. Mom is really leaving. Jessica, won't you give Mom a hug? I woke up startled in my mother's arms, seeing her familiar face, yet my heart was filled with nothing but desolation. No, I don't want you to be my mother. I can't bear to see you repeat the same mistakes. In this world, I only wish for your happiness. This time, I chose to let Mom leave. Perhaps she was heartbroken, leaving so resolutely, without leaving a single trace of her former presence. In the first month after Mom left, Dad married Aunt Julia and brought her home. Occasionally, he would feel a bit nostalgic for the hot bowl of soup he used to get whenever he returned from work when Mom was still at home. But now with the beauty in his arms, even if Aunt Julia ordered takeout for him, Dad could happily accept it. He used to be the pickiest eater, refusing to touch this or that, and would fly into a rage if Mom added even one extra scallion. In the future, let the housekeeper handle such things. There's no need for you to trouble yourself. Even though Auntie merely transferred the takeout onto a plate, Dad was already heartbroken over her effort. She's so fussy. The previous madam wasn't this difficult to please. When the nanny had to remake the soup for the 5th time because Aunt Julia still found it too greasy, she couldn't help but grumble under her breath, "Aunt Kathy, my mom always adds this seasoning packet when she makes soup. Do you want to try it? It makes it really fragrant." I scampered over with quick little steps and dug out the seasoning packet from the drawer. It was the ingredients prepared by Mom, with premium spices packed in a gauze bag, used for every pot of chicken soup. The former madam's cooking skills were excellent. Aunt Kathy seemed lost in thought and, without any suspicion, added the ingredients. No one could resist such deliciousness. This time, Aunt Julia finally stopped making a fuss. "It's just passable." She had never been one to praise others. Aunt Kathy retreated with the empty soup bowl, looking indignant. "If it wasn't good, why did you finish every last drop? Who are you trying to fool?" I leaned against the doorframe, watching her shuffle away. Aunt Kathy is old and should have left the Howard family long ago. She should have left when she started making sarcastic remarks about my mother. My eyes dimmed as I gently snapped the flower stem in my hand. "Honey, just give me that piece of land in the eastern suburbs. I want to build a garden there." Aunt Julia coquettishly puffed out her swollen belly. To my eyes, the scene was dripping with irony. Mom had once yearned for Dad's love too, only to be pushed away in disgust in the end. Dad agreed readily, unaware that this was merely Aunt Julia's scheme to siphon his wealth for her secret lover. After Mom is gone, he'll realize his once idealized love has turned into a mere nuisance. He'll discover that everyone has betrayed him, and only Mom truly cared for him. In the end, he'll descend into madness, spending his entire life longing for just one more glimpse of Mom. Without me even lifting a finger, he'll follow the plot's trajectory straight into the abyss. "Julia, I'll accompany you to the prenatal checkup this time." Father's eyes were filled with tenderness, though they momentarily faltered when they landed on me. Perhaps he remembered a woman who once bore a child for him, yet he didn't arrive until the child was already a month old. Without any compensation or remorse, he just coldly said, "You should give Julia a blood transfusion now. Don't forget your place." Mom traveled to this world, alone and helpless, with only the system demanding she complete her tasks. The system required Mom to unconditionally be good to Dad, until her gentle presence infiltrated every aspect of his life, only to be missed when she finally left. Mom's identity was the overlooked eldest daughter of the Cheen family, whose blood type matched Dad's white moonlight. To please the Howard family, Mom was given to Dad as a blood bag. No matter how she resisted or struggled, it was futile. Every time she tried to escape, the system would find ways to bring her back. She endured immense suffering and, in a state of extreme weakness after a blood transfusion, was forced by Dad, under the influence of drugs, unwilling to harm his own unattainable love. He turned his cruelty toward Mom. Mother did nothing wrong, yet she conceived me. Under the order of the Howard family patriarch, Father married Mother. He demanded that Mother know her place and not entertain any improper thoughts. Mother played the role of a virtuous wife, striving to become what the system deemed a qualified transmigrator. Her greatest mistake was developing feelings for me, this unintended child. Mom is so gentle, she hardly ever loses her temper, always sitting there quietly, wearing a beautiful dress, as if a gust of wind could carry her away at any moment. "No need, you're busy with work, I can go by myself." Aunt Julia refused Dad, even avoiding eye contact. She was feeling guilty, because the child in her belly wasn't her father's at all. This pregnancy was going exceptionally well, with nourishing soups continuously delivered to her room. "Julia, your belly seems larger than that of an average pregnant woman. I'm really worried. Let me accompany you to this prenatal checkup." Dad always has patience with Aunt Julia, but Aunt Julia pouted, showing strong resistance. I said no need. I look too awful during prenatal checkups, and I don't want you to see me in such an embarrassing state. "Stop being unreasonable." Father frowned, and whenever he made that expression, it meant he was about to get angry. Aunt Julia clearly knew this too and immediately fell silent. Father's love carried authority, not to be crossed even half a step. "All right," Aunt Julia could only agree. though her gaze lingered on me with a hint of malice. She didn't know that I had added hormones to her favorite chicken soup. Aunt Kathy wouldn't suspect a child like me, and due to Aunt Julia's gluttony, she had no choice but to use the seasoning packets again and again, day after day. Even if the timing of Aunt Julia's pregnancy could match up with Dad's, her belly began to show signs of the truth. She was naturally afraid. 2 weeks difference wasn't much, but it wasn't insignificant either. If her father discovered her deception, the consequences would be unimaginable. At times like these, a pitiful scapegoat was often needed. Her mother, who had died unjustly in her past life, was one such example. Now, I'm being targeted again. Actually, according to the plot, Dad would eventually discover Aunt Julia's betrayal on his own, and after going around in circles, he'd regret and realize that Mom was the best for him all along. But I can't wait any longer. After Mom left, I no longer have any regrets, nor do I wish to stay in this world. But this time, Dad and Aunt Julia are still alive. How can I let them live happily? My hatred has been carved into my bones, even eroding my soul. Before I die, I will make them pay for the harm they caused. Mom, Jessica, my earring fell off. Can you pick it up for me? Aunt Julia smiled at me gently. She stood at the top of the stairs, beckoning to me. Behind her lay the abyss of eternal damnation. All right, I said. I put down the Barbie doll in my hand and walked toward her with an air of innocence. Aunt Julia took a step back, gauged the direction, tilted her body slightly, and was just about to fall. But before she could, I slipped, smashing my head straight into the wall before tumbling down the stairs. My frail body kept hitting the steps, leaving a trail of blood. Daddy, help, I cried out, my voice pitiful, like a kitten's whimper. Hearing the loud noise of me falling down the stairs, Daddy and the household servants rushed over. My head was covered in blood, and my arm was clearly dislocated, hanging limply at my side. What's wrong, Jessica? After all, I was still my father's child. His face softened with concern. Someone, call an ambulance. Don't be afraid, Jessica, Daddy's here. In this life, I didn't show any resistance toward my father. On the contrary, after driving my mother away, I became utterly dependent on him. These days Dad still sighs with emotion. After all, blood is thicker than water. Jessica is truly close to the Howard family. But now, tiny me, covered in blood, curls up weakly in his arms. Daddy, save me. No, please. Aunt Julia, I was wrong. Don't push me. Aunt Julia, I'm sorry. As if trapped in a nightmare, I murmured to myself. Dad's gaze shifted between me and Aunt Julia. No, I didn't push her. I just asked Jessica to pick up the earring. Aunt Julia couldn't defend herself no matter how hard she tried. Your earring just happened to fall right at the staircase. Dad's tone was stiff, clearly already angry. Julia, I know about all the little tricks you've been playing. I didn't call you out on them because I love you, and you're carrying my child. But Jessica is of the Howard bloodline. If you dare harm her again, I won't let you off. Aunt Julia was furious and immediately threw a tantrum. Fine, your daughter is still more important. Is the child in my womb not important? Am I inferior to her? Then I might as well just die. Lying on the hospital bed, I listened sideways as they continued this farce. 3, 2, 1. I silently counted the seconds in my heart. The next second, Aunt Julia's sharp scream rang out. Ugh, my stomach, it hurts so much. The pain made her legs go weak, almost unable to stand. The bulging pregnant belly was now moving frequently, as if trying to kick through her skin. It seemed that the argument with her father had agitated the fetus. Stop pretending. Her father glanced at her, his face turning pale at the sight of Aunt Julia's blood trickling down her thigh. Julia, what's wrong with you? He hurriedly called for the doctor, and after the commotion, she was hastily carried into the operating room. My hospital room fell silent once again. Sitting by the bed, watching the lush tree outside the window, I happily swung my legs. Being a child is great. No one would ever suspect me. After all, human nature is inherently good, and I'm just an obedient, adorable kid. Aunt Julia doesn't know that the soup she drinks every day contains not just hormones but also labor-inducing drugs. She'll deliver prematurely, and the premature baby will inevitably end up in an incubator, but the child's blood type doesn't seem to match the father's. I leaned over the bed to count the green leaves. 1, 2, 3. I just want to muddy these waters even more. Get away from me, you bitch. I never want to see you again. The next time I saw Aunt Julia was when I was discharged from the hospital. Dad came to pick me up in person, while Aunt Julia, who had just finished her postpartum confinement, had no one to take care of her. Her face was deathly pale as she clung to Dad's leg, begging him not to leave, her voice full of desperation. Everything went as I expected. After Aunt Julia's premature birth, the newborn needed medical treatment. The child's blood type didn't match the father's, so he immediately took a paternity test, confirming the child had no biological relation to him. So, I've been cheated on, and I've been happily taking care of you all these days. Father went mad and grabbed Aunt Julia by the throat. You used this child to push Aching out. Are you satisfied now? Aunt Julia, who had just given birth, was extremely weak when he dragged her out of bed. The child's father was Dad's business rival, and he used this infant to force the other party to compromise. You've got guts, using your woman to bring down the Howard family. Have you ever thought that your child would end up in my hands? Father coldly mocked the other party. Looking completely confident of victory, he pushed Aunt Julia aside, holding the baby in one arm and taking my hand with the other. Jessica, let's go home. His voice was gentle, but the home he spoke of was a place unknown to me. The tiny infant in swaddling clothes breathed softly. Unaware of what his father was about to face, having been exposed to drugs in the womb, the child suffered from severe allergies. Just a trace of pollen could cost him his life. The child is innocent. If he's lucky, let's pray my father won't be a womanizer. You look just like someone I used to know. Would you like to have a drink with me? But unfortunately, as a playboy, my father lingers among women. After breaking up with Aunt Julia, he finally remembered his mother's goodness. One night, he came to my room, holding me and crying. I imitated my mother's way, gently patting his shoulder. This man who had dominated the business world seemed to suddenly have his back bent by the weight. You remind me so much of Aching. You're the only keepsake she left me. My father's love disgusts me. I don't want him to have any keepsakes. Not even if that keepsake is me. I only want to see him suffer, to regret. Actually, I'm not much like Mom. The one I resemble most is Dad. I'm just as much of an ungrateful wretch as he is. How could I possibly be a good person? It's okay, Dad. I'll always be with you. I held him in my arms, comforting him with gentle words. Father began reminiscing about Mother, surrounded by various women. Without exception, they all resembled Mother in some way. It seemed the so-called plot was starting to take effect. Father is moving step by step toward a tragic end. He has a new female companion by his side, on Valentine's Day, without exception. It's always a bouquet of flowers paired with a necklace or bracelet jewelry. His money is generous, but his love is perfunctory. Mr. Howard, you should go check on the child. They're running a fever. I just left the window half open, and the baby got a fever. The timing was just perfect. Dad usually doesn't look after this child. It's always Aunt Kathy taking care of him. After all, seeing this child only reminds him of that ridiculous experience of being betrayed and deceived. But this child was also his trump card against his arch-rival. He had no choice but to awkwardly arrange for proper care. And now, this trump card had fallen ill. A premature baby, even a simple cold could cost its life. The father hurried to check on the child, but to his surprise, the moment he picked him up, the child began coughing violently, the tiny face scrunched up tightly, flushed with an unusual redness, then gradually turned a suffocating purple. The car sped along urgently as he rushed to the hospital, but it was all in vain. All he could do was feel the infant transition from an initial high fever to the chilling loss of body warmth. No, I saw a panicked expression on my father's face. Due to his reckless indulgence, the Howard family had declined significantly in recent years. The scandal between him and Aunt Julia even caused a sharp drop in the stock market. And now, the hostage used to control the opponent has become a problem. It might even provoke a retaliatory counterattack from them. Dad, look over there. Someone is crying. I pointed outside the car window. Father instinctively looked over. It was a paper kite shaped like a human figure, with a deathly pale face, pitch black hair, and eyes dotted with vermilion ink. Already distraught, he caught an accidental glimpse of it. His heart clenched in panic, and in that moment of confusion, he turned the steering wheel the wrong way, sending the car crashing straight into the roadside guardrail. Boom! A loud crash sounded as the car billowed thick black smoke. My head slammed against the window, blood trickling from my forehead into my eyes. It hurts. Glancing at my father who had already fallen unconscious, I finally passed out with relief. When I opened my eyes again, it was the familiar hospital room, after Mom left. I hurt myself badly, just wanting to drag everyone down with me. They say Dad's leg was broken, and when reporters arrived at the scene, a dead infant was carried out of the car. The overwhelming news coverage claimed Dad had murdered his sworn enemy's child out of romantic vengeance. The other party began to frantically attack the Howard family. Now, the Howard group is as shattered as withered leaves. It was you, wasn't it? The paper kite by the roadside. I checked the surveillance footage. It was you who hung it up. Father's tone was icy. His gaze sweeping over me filled with pain and struggle. He seemed unable to accept that he had gone from being the widely admired Mr. Howard to this current state. Especially unbearable was the sudden disappearance of the wife who had once loved him dearly, the betrayal and deception by his white moonlight, and now even his only child seemed not as innocent as he had imagined. Guess, Dad. I blinked my eyes, my gaze brimming with innocence. There are many things you don't know. You can take these questions to the underworld, where you can slowly repent and wonder. I want him to suffer in remorse, watching day by day as the Howard family's empire crumbles, powerless to stop it. I want him to be abandoned by all and left with nothing. My hatred is too intense, too twisted, so much so that I despise myself. I should erase all traces of my existence too. How did things come to this? Wasn't I reading a romance novel about winning back the wife? Why has it turned into a revenge story about Jessica? When did this kid suddenly go crazy? Oh my God, can someone tell me where the plot is actually going? The barrage of comments in front of me continued to scroll wildly. These days, it always hovers before my eyes. Only when time and space are unstable can I see the contents above. The first time was because I died with regrets in my past life. The second time was right after I was reborn, when everything was still unsettled. And now? What is the reason this time? Host, your strength is evident to all of us, so we sincerely invite you to become a member of the Transmigration Bureau. Completing missions will earn you generous rewards. Before my death in my previous life, the system said this to me. First, he relentlessly attacked me with words, trying to make me blame myself for my mother's death, then pushed me to the brink of collapse and suicide. When I was on the verge of death, they extended an olive branch, wanting me to become a transmigrator, but unfortunately, I have never been willing to let my life be controlled. From the moment I broke free from the constraints of the plot and chose to stay with my mother, it was destined that I would not be a puppet on strings. Sorry, but I refuse. All these years while avenging my mother, I've discovered the existence of the system. After Mom's death, it secretly watched me, wanting to parasitize my brain. Whose fault was Mom's death after all? Was it the system that forced her to complete tasks, the plot that controlled her life, her abusive husband, the endless stream of mistresses, or the mocking disdain from those who looked down on her? Only not me, because my mother held me in countless nights, telling me, Jessica, you are the one Mom loves the most. You are the most precious gift God has given to Mom. Both my mother and I are victims. The ones who should pay the price are these executioners. It's definitely not us. Bind with me. I can give you everything you desire. The system keeps pestering and tempting me. Oh, anything at all. My voice is soft, already nearing the end of life. Yes, then I want you to disappear. I want time to turn back. I want my mother to live again in this world. I crushed this pathetic system. In the storyline world, the death of a main character would cause turbulence in time and space. This was also the moment when the system was at its weakest. It shrieked, dissolving into nothingness in my hands as a translucent mass of data. The instant it exploded, the massive energy shock twisted time and space. This time, I'm going back to before everything began. Mom, wait for me. Who exactly are you? Dad's voice pulled me back from my memories. I am someone who has already died once. Perhaps he should call me a vengeful ghost. I did not answer him. In this world now, all those I hated have met their retribution. I feel an emptiness in my heart, as if everything has come to an end. You beast, you monster. Dad's voice trembled as he roared in fury, staggering to his feet from the wheelchair. He was holding a knife. I'd noticed it long ago but chose not to expose him. I want you dead. He lunged at me like a madman. I wouldn't mind adding intentional murder to his list of crimes. But the expected pain never came. I was pulled into a warm embrace, effortlessly dodging my father's attack, the familiar faint fragrance. My body stiffened, and for a moment, I dared not move. Mom, I almost wanted to scream it out with a tearing force in my throat, but as I opened my mouth, tears fell drop by drop, and no sound could escape. Jessica, Mom gently flicked my forehead. I finally dared to look up and meet her eyes. It wasn't my imagination, Mom had truly returned, standing right before me. Dad was taken away by the police, he attempted murder, and what awaits him is imprisonment. He screamed like a madman. She ruined me, it's all her fault. Everyone dismissed it as the ravings of a lunatic, only Mom silently tightened her grip on my hand. Mom remembered everything. Jessica waited for her mom for a very, very long time, didn't she? Her scalding tears fell on my cheeks. Yes, a very, very long time. Mom, you haven't seen what I look like as an adult yet. I'm so bad. Just like that heartless and cold father, I'm not the most obedient child in your heart. Sorry Mom, I've become just like Dad. Nonsense. My daughter, of course you're most like me, be bold in love and hate, brave and fearless. Just like me. Mom seemed to sense what was on my mind and gently patted my head with a smile. It's okay, Jessica, Mom will put her heart into raising you all over again. We'll never be apart again, never ever. Although I have destroyed the system from my past life. The system in this timeline still exists. After Mom was sent back to the original world, she discovered that the so-called promise of rebirth upon completing tasks was nothing but a scam. Everything from before she was forcibly taken into the mission world had vanished. Yearning for me, Mom tried countless times to return, but the system stopped her each time, forcing her to complete new tasks. As long as you go to the next world and complete the mission, I'll let you reunite with Jessica and her daughter. But Mom had long refused to be controlled by the system. She broke free from the system's shackles and plunged into the chaotic flow of time and space. In the endless rift of time and space, she fleetingly recalled all that had happened in her past life. Mom has countless new worlds to explore, yet in the end, she chooses to return here. When I asked her why, Mom answered with a smile. Because of this place. Because my beloved Jessica is here, Mom. I love you the most too. In this lifetime, we will all be happy. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.